little bit of 247's class calculator. So with ROMELLO Brinson, we just moved into the 9th class overall. If we were to add Jake Garcia, we would jump Oregon and Florida and have the 7th class. So not bad, dude. I mean, especially coming off of 6 and 7 year. Manny knows what he's doing.
I can't even breathe right now because I've been yelling, but it's, yeah, like, props to Manny, man. Like,
yeah.
And also, like, the other recruiters on staff, like Rob Likens, Coach Field, like, they are knocking it out of the park right now.
Yeah, they are, dude. I could not be happier with our offensive staff right now. I mean, I always forget the name of our running backs coach. I swear. Hickson. Yeah, I don't know why, but I still always say like Thomas Brown in my head when I want to say our. But yeah, dude, Hickson's been killing it, and now that we have Lashley, and to be fair, like Enos was a pretty solid recruiter from what it seemed like. I mean, he had us right there with Garcia, but now that we have Likens and Justice and Lashley, dude, we're kind of unstoppable recruiting wide receivers, and Coach Field as well. He's a great recruiter.
Yeah. I mean, because he's the inner city guy when it comes to recruiting. I mean, he knows. I mean, he used to coach for Miami Northwestern. Like,
yeah. It's I mean, Mike McCoy, our dude, shout out. He was saying today on Twitter, he's like, it's not a coincidence that we're landing, 5 guys from Northwestern when they're this stacked. He's like, that has a lot to do with Coach Field being a former head coach there, and wasn't Telly Lockett like the offensive coordinator there as well?
Yeah, I don't remember his official position, but yeah, something like that. It's just this recruiting staff that Manny has put together is just unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't at the same time because Coach Field was the head coach and offensive coordinator when he was there, but I'm pretty sure after he moved on that Telly Lockett was an offensive coordinator there. So yeah, man. Should I dial in James?
Let's do it.
Cool.
Hello.
What's up, James?
What's going on, James?
Hey, what's going on?
Dude, we're hyped.
We are hyped as hell.
James, you there, brother?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, cool.
How you feeling, man? What's going on?
Nothing much, man. Just trying to go through my struggles in life regarding the passing of my father.
Yeah.
And I'm just making arrangements. There's always like some real hard times, but I don't really get on Twitter like that like I used to. I mean, I've been with everything going on, but sure enough, I guess I turned into a heck of a day to see what's going on, and we just witnessed some Canes history.
Yeah, man, and condolences about your dad, and I hope your family's doing well. But you're spot on, man. This is a huge day for Miami recruiting. I mean, especially coming off a 6 and 7 year, I'm just really hoping this is the springboard that we need. It feels like everything's in place.
Well, we always, one of the things I always talk about is the culture of Miami, and how much I highlight that. And sure enough, guess what we got today? We got a guy who brought out the entire city of Miami, who said, I'm going to school in Miami, and I'm going to represent this hometown the best I can. And I think that goes a hell of a way to rebuild exactly what the school needed.
Yep.
Absolutely. And it was really cool to see, because I was watching ROMELLO Brinson's Instagram Live when he was making his decision, and literally like the entire community was out to support him. And that just goes to show you, man, that the Hurricanes they really do mean a lot to the city of Miami. And I mean, we all want to see the Canes back to being what they should be. And the South Florida, the city of Miami, it's just, we need the Canes to be good again, man. And that's what we want. That's what I love about this fan base and about this culture is that, we're ride and die with the Hurricanes because it's more of a community thing than any other program in college football,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So let me ask you a question, James. And we just asked our last guest this. Coming off of a 6 and 7 season, how do you think why do you think Manny Diaz has been able to, stay hot on the recruiting trail and get all these kids?
I think that he's done a lot of community outreach regarding recent events. Not only, I don't want to say it's all been community outreach, but I think that one thing that was highlighted by this coaching staff is trying to make home kids feel at home and trying to make home kids feel like this is exactly where they need to be. It's a lot bigger than a personal decision. It's a decision that has your entire community behind you. And I think that message goes a long way, especially given recent events. I'm not going to say it's all that. It's 100% that, but I think that plays a big part of it where, we're starting to see the rebirth of kids wanting to be there for their community and giving some people some hope of where they come from, saying that, look, I not only go to a major college and a top college, but I could play there on my way to the pros as well. And that goes a hell of a way to rebuilding a culture that much needs that right now.
Yeah. And, piggybacking on what you said, I don't want to overstep my bounds here because I've never lived in South Florida. I've never lived in like the deep South Bible Belt area. But I think from like an objective observation point of view, I think recent events have just kind of highlighted the differences between South Florida and like the Bible Belt. And, maybe that will be something that makes kids think twice,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know as far as like how much of an impact that'll have. Miami's obviously not exactly the South when you think about the South traditionally, but maybe yeah. I mean, maybe that goes a long way to making kids rethink about maybe choosing their schools wisely. Maybe choosing schools where their community appreciates them more, rather than opposes them ideologically or opposes them in any political way or any traditional way. And we see a lot of that going on here, and it's unfortunate, especially given what I just saw in Clemson and in South Carolina after Dabo just gave a speech out there. It's pretty horrible. So I mean, maybe yeah, that goes a long way. That maybe convincing these kids that play for a community where they really appreciate you and they embrace you culturally. So
yeah, definitely. And let me ask this, because I mean, I'm not sold yet on Manny Diaz as a head coach. I mean, I love him as a defensive coordinator, as a recruiter, obviously. But what do you like most about Coach Diaz and what he's building in Coral Gables?
Believe it or not, bro, and it's gonna sound crazy, the most thing I like about Manny Diaz is that he's figuring it out fast, and he's putting together, what he needs to correct one of the worst seasons in Miami's history fast. And I think that he understands that if he can't snap his fingers and will it, he's going to make sure that all the factors are in place for him to be that type of successful coach that Miami is needed. And I think that he's putting that in play right now. You're starting to see Coach Field has been a complete monster out there. I mean, I haven't even been much online, and I've seen that. You starting to see the community outreach that Manny's doing. You're starting to see like how he's going into these communities and relating. There's a lot what Bo Schnellenberger used to do. Schnellenberger used to do this. He gave kids a feeling like, hey, you stay home, you have somebody here that's going to look after you, like almost like as a family member. And that type of community outreach Manny's done is now proving is starting to bear fruit and starting to prove points.
Yeah. Dude, I'm just so hyped about this. I don't know. Here's the thing with Manny is you got to remember he didn't play football at a high level. He was, I mean, what was it, like 15 years ago? He was working for ESPN, like, assembling highlights, probably on his way to become a Sports Center anchor.
Yeah.
And, so I mean, like you said, James, I just think he's a smart dude. To jump into football and be going up against these guys that have just lived and breathed X's and O's for a long time, and then to become an excellent defensive coordinator, like not just good, he's excellent.
Yeah.
Schematically, all this stuff, and then I see no reason why he couldn't, pick up head coaching on the fly and really make a good career out of it. He's kind of been able to do whatever he's wanted or just in terms of an ability standpoint. He's a talented guy.
Absolutely. Well, this is why you don't fire a coach after one season. I mean, I always said to people, man, you have to give them more than one season. As much as I just didn't want what happened last year to happen, and there's still a lot of people that are not sold, and I get that, and that's just going to happen. It's going to keep on happening. But he's got to turn the tide, man. He's got to load up with the weapons. He's got to make sure that the culture is there. He's got to restore the culture, and I think that maybe, first season he might have felt like it would have been easier than what he thought, but now he's starting to realize that this is a game of literally X's and O's, figurative and literally, and he's playing it he has to play it on the field as well as off the field, and we're starting to see off the field he's been an absolute general. There's no doubt about that. I mean, if something doesn't work, he goes out there and gets the pieces to make it work. Yeah. So I mean, now there's no excuses, but now it's a game of hopefully we can make it work from here going forward.
Yeah. I think. Sorry, go ahead, Marsh.
No, you go.
Well, I was just saying, I think last year he had to take his lumps in learning that as a coach, it can't be style over substance. Because his approach has been totally different, and we've talked about this before on the podcast. But I do think that shows learning. That it is more of, I guess, putting his shoulder to the wheel. It's the hard work. He's grinding now. He's not so focused on making headlines with his with his antics so much as making headlines with his successes. Which I think is actually a very good allegory to where our program is now versus where it used to be. I feel like our program used to make more headlines with its successes, and now it's more with antics. It's more with the turnover chain and decommitments and being disappointing in terms of like starting the season in the top 10 and then going 7-6. Stuff like that is why we're making headlines now. And I think Manny figured it out that if you're making the headlines for what you're accomplishing on the field, then everything else will follow suit. Everything else will fall into place. I mean, I feel like the swag is like a natural byproduct of Miami winning, right? So why put effort into having swag when it'll come as long as you win?
No, of course. Yeah. No, I totally get it. There's been a lot of coaches, and I'm not saying Manny did this, but I've heard a lot about like Al Golden and prior coaches, and they thought that it was going to be as easy as just coming here and the mystique of the U is going to take care of itself and you're just going to come in here and win. And it's always been harder than that. It was never going to be that easy. And we needed somebody that, like I said, Manny, the first time I was on this podcast, I said that I believe in Manny has what it takes to change us culturally. As far as what's on the field and how he manages the X's and O's and the clock management and everything else, time will tell. But I'm back to saying what I've always said. This has to translate. I mean, I love the off the field moves. I love everything. But I mean, had we go ahead and have an abysmal season, all this will be for naught. Kids might change their mind. They might say, hey, maybe Alabama's looking a little bit better now. Miami lost 5 games on an easy schedule. Things change. I mean, and it changes quickly in college football. That's why I'm always like, until Saban and Dabo and Ryan Day up in Ohio State have their say, I'm not falling in love with any recruiting class just yet. You know what I'm saying? It's not until they give the A-OK that we can keep our class, because I mean, it just seems like always kids just, something happens January, dead periods, kids change minds, kids decommit, they go on these visits, they go here, they say, I can't imagine playing anywhere else but here. And, people are left that are super invested in this are left heartbroken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're preaching, brother. You're preaching. So last question for you, man. We don't want to keep you too long on a Saturday night. How important is it that Manny Diaz and his staff are getting these top recruits in South Florida and convincing them and letting them know that staying home in Miami is the right choice?
Well, I mean, you can't sell them wins right now. but you're selling them a culture change. You're selling them what can be. When you're in a stage like this and you have what's been behind you, it can't sell the kids going forward. It can't sell top recruits going forward. What you can sell is what you potentially